Okay, we'll get started. I'm John Sorensen, Fire Chief of the City of St. Helena, and today we have the St. Helena Town Hall meeting on public safety and community preparedness. And Alec Vidler, who was just here, he's been instrumental putting on this whole thing, and if anything goes wrong, this individual can fix it. Today's crew on the engine is Sebastian in the back there, and we have Luis Ochoa and Scott Dale. So if you have any issues in the crowd, you can just flag one of them down and they can help you, okay? The bathrooms are through this door over here where Scott is, and follow the signs. It's gonna be a left and another left, and there's 3 bathrooms in a row in the hallway. Okay, we also have cold water in this back corner over by our city clerk, Andrew Bradley. And don't forget to try to silence your cell phones so we can get started. And we have some guests from COAD. COAD here? Napa Valley COAD? You want to talk for 2 seconds? No? You don't? Okay. Okay, so today this afternoon, we have Brieanna Jones with Napa County Office of Emergency Services. We have Joe Nordlinger from Napa Firewise, Chief Executive Officer. We have David Capponi from Hub International Insurance. David also put 21 years in on this fire department, 6 years in the Marine Corps. He's a talented individual, that's for sure. We have J.C. Greenberg with Napa County Fire and CAL FIRE, and we have the interim police chief, Justin Tharp, and we have Lieutenant Kyle Eddleman with Napa County Sheriff's Department. And you get myself. So the first is Brieanna Jones that's gonna talk about the what are you gonna talk about again? Hazard mitigation plan, sorry. And we are gonna do all 6 presentations first, and then for an hour and a half, they're all 15 minutes each, there's 6 of them, and then we're gonna have questions and answers so we can make it to the end, okay? If all of these individuals, we do less than 15 minutes each, then you'll have more questions and answers. Okay, Brieanna, you are up. We might have to change. How's that?
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. As he mentioned, Brieanna Jones. I work for Napa County Office of Emergency Services, or we shorten it to OES, and I'm an emergency services officer. I'm talking to you about the hazard mitigation plan today. It drives a lot of our other plans, the emergency operations plans, a lot of, evacuation type plans, studies. I will not be discussing that. That's actually for kind of our police and fire to talk about, but I'll be talking about our hazard mitigation plan. The hazard mitigation plan is coordinated within the county. A lot of times people have a local hazard mitigation plan. Napa County chooses to do a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan. What that means is the county has the plan as well as multiple jurisdictions within the county. So we have all 5 jurisdictions on our plan as well as multiple special districts. This plan is all encompassing. The planning effort requires all of those jurisdictions, all of the special districts to be involved in that. So they kind of bring that community engagement in. They bring in members of the community. They bring in concerns that their community has. Just at the county level, I can't know everything that every special district or jurisdiction is concerned about when it comes to hazard mitigation. So that's why it's so important to have this multi-jurisdictional plan. And then on top of it, it helps with some grant opportunities for special districts or jurisdictions that wouldn't otherwise be able to apply. So why have a multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan? One, like I said, it drives a lot of plans. It gives us a lot of information. There's a lot of, it's data-driven information. There's a lot of analysis that goes into it. So it helps protect people from loss of life, injury, and economic damage from hazards. Protect critical infrastructure. So that's when we discuss, and that's why special districts are so important. For example, Napa Sands on it, that's one of those critical infrastructures that we need to be concerned about, which is why they're going to be that subject matter expert to help us with the plan. And then preserve natural resources. And finally, promote community resilience. Again, this plan goes out for public comment, but also it does help a lot of those special districts or jurisdictions apply for grant opportunities as well as the county. The plan is a requirement of FEMA to apply for some of those grants. So we have to follow the FEMA process, which I put up here. So there's kind of phase one, which you organize the resources. Then there's that risk assessment and then mitigation strategy. So especially if it's an update to a plan. And then we go into kind of implementation, maintenance, and then we have the administrative draft, and then we have the public comment period. So to put a plan together, it's about a year and a half just in these phases. And it has to be updated every 5 years. So some of the changes that we had from 2020 to 2026, and I know 2020 was a big year for a lot of people, but a lot of the work was actually done in 2019 for our 2020 plan, and we took it to board June 6th of 2020. So that was actually prior to the LNU lightning and glass fires. We did have pandemic on there. We actually removed it in the 2026 plan just because we learned so many lessons with 2020, and we found that it didn't actually belong in a hazard mitigation plan, although it was actually in there prior. We've enhanced partnerships. Like I said, we haven't had all jurisdictions on our plan before. And then there's a few changes that FEMA required, like climate change. It was a concern in 2020, but it was something that FEMA said, hey, this has to be addressed in your 2025 update. So in 2020, we had 9 jurisdictions. I said June 6th, it was June 9th of 2020. And in 2025, we have 13 jurisdictions involved. Here's just a picture of them. So in 2020, we actually put all of this as our priorities, and the county set these with some of our subject matter experts, some data-driven, some analysis. But these were the hazards we were most concerned. And then jurisdictions and special districts kind of picked the ones that were more concerning in their communities. As you can see, wildfire was kind of further down on the list for some of the other communities. But like I said, during that time when all the planning was done, we had the 2017 fires and there was a lot of lessons learned, but we hadn't had the LNU lightning or glass fire by the time this plan was adopted. In 2025, these are our hazard concerns. Like I said, the pandemic came off. Obviously, wildfire is still a concern of ours. And then we broke apart the severe weather. So that used to just be one all-encompassing. Now we have extreme heat that we address separately just because that's an area for concern within Napa County. So it's addressed separately in the 2026 plan. And then some of the numbers on here. So what I think a lot of people, I completely understand with 2017 and 2020, a lot of people are very concerned about wildfire. You're going to have a lot of people discuss that today. And it is a concern of the counties as well. But there's also a lot of other concerns that hazard mitigation plans drive. So wildfire exposure, this includes high and very high fire hazard severity zones set by CAL FIRE in the state. There's only 17,000 people in those areas. So when it comes to a lot of these priorities, I have to look at earthquake, slope failure, sea level rise, dam inundation, and then flood exposure as well as all of those. So that's what I mean when this plan is all encompassing. In St. Helena, a lot of the planning committee might have said wildfire is very concerning to us or dams, but we also have earthquakes where in some areas, that was a heavy concern for them. And as you can see by these numbers, people are at risk for a lot of different hazards. Oops, sorry. So where do we go from here? So it drives a lot of our plans, like I said. It's a great tool to utilize for some grant opportunities. We use it for a lot of funding strategies. And it's not just grants. It could be general fund for a lot of jurisdictions or special districts to look at the hazard mitigation plan, because it includes a lot of mitigation efforts within the plan. And they can either utilize general fund or apply for grant opportunities. It drives lots of other plans within the counties, cities, and as well as special districts. And then furthermore, just next we go into adoption. So Cal OES and FEMA will need to approve our plan. Then the county will adopt the plan, and jurisdictions and special districts will go after, and they'll adopt the plan. And then in 5 years, we'll do it all again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Joe Nordlinger with Napa Firewise, Chief Executive Officer.
Can you hear me okay? Sure how this works here. All right, thanks very much. And am I using a clicker to advance this? Yeah, okay, great. Thanks for having me here. As Chief Sorensen mentioned, my name is Joe Nordlinger. I'm the CEO of Napa Firewise. I want to talk to you a little bit about what Napa Firewise is, how we function as an organization to improve the wildfire resilience of not just the city of St. Helena, but the county more broadly. I'll talk to you about some specific initiatives that we have going on here in the county and how they have an opportunity to really invest and improve the overall wildfire resilience of not just St. Helena, but the county itself. Just at a high level, Napa Firewise is a 501c3. We're a nonprofit. We have a dedicated staff of about 18 people. We work very, very closely with lots of different agencies, the fire agencies at the city level, the county level, the state level. Our organization is focused on comprehensive wildfire resilience, and we do our work by going out and securing funds with support from the county, but we also do a lot of grant writing, and we've secured quite a bit of money over the years from CAL FIRE, a number of different funding agencies. Generally speaking, we're pretty good at taking a dollar and unlocking another $2.50 through our grant writing capabilities. So our staff is focused again on this concept of comprehensive wildfire resilience, which is to say that we look at sort of wildfire resilience in two broad programmatic areas. One has to do with outreach, education, wildfire preparedness, working with the community. We do that by supporting and developing fire safe councils, and we develop fire safe councils, groups of citizens at a city level or at a community level. We work with those citizens to understand their fire risk and to help them develop a series of prioritized projects to help reduce that risk. We also help with defensible space cost share programs. We secure money to help folks who need assistance to improve their defensible space around their homes, and we have resources that can help folks to do that work. All of the work that we do, we try to connect to this issue of insurance, how to improve insurability, and we've got a demonstrable track record of helping communities to secure what's called a NFPA Firewise designation, which helps with insurance, and also another strategy which I'll speak to here in a moment. So that's all the wildfire preparedness. The other main programmatic thing that we're doing at Napa Firewise is all of the fuel management, improving and maintaining containment lines, doing things like landscape level fuel reduction along county roads, along city roads, and all of that fuel reduction helps people to evacuate more safely. It helps first responders to get in, and it really works to change fire dynamics by reducing vegetation, by creating fuel spacing so that fire dynamics are slowed. These are just a handful of metrics of some of the work that we do, and we do this again in close coordination with our agency partners, with the Resource Conservation District, with the Land Trust of Napa County, a number of agencies here in the county. Our model here in Napa County is widely considered to be one of the most successful models in the state. And that's because we've really centralized a lot of the work. We have fewer agencies that work more closely together. And that means we have less competition around resources, and we more efficiently spend money to achieve the outcomes that we're endeavoring to achieve. So I want to take a minute to just educate you a little bit about a specific citizens initiative that's underway right now. It's called Measure B. You'll hear about it in the coming months as we approach the November election. This measure is really focused on securing durable funding to address three broad areas of resilience in the county. One is wildfire resilience, the other is the protection of watersheds, and the third is the stewardship and protection of protected lands. So the measure is a citizens initiative. It will essentially put a 0.5-cent sales tax on the ballot for the voters to consider. Around 38%, nearly 40% of that will be paid for by visitors. This money will generate around $23 million a year with the objective of spending these resources on a broad range of stewardship activities and resilience activities to reduce the risks of wildfire here in the county. And it is developed so that it focuses resources on a variety of prioritized projects that I'll speak to in just a minute. So on an average purchase of $20, it generates its 10 cents in tax. Again, 40% of it roughly is paid for by visitors, and it focuses on wildfire preparedness. All of the projects that I just mentioned a moment ago, fuel reduction, maintaining fire roads, improving access and egress, helping property owners to do defensible space. It also protects watersheds. In the case of St. Helena, your watershed, Bell Canyon, is at risk of wildfire. And so there are a number of projects that would be eligible within the St. Helena Hazard Mitigation Program and neighboring projects around the city, including the watershed, that would include reduction of fuel, improvement of roaded access, and things that will help to protect that watershed in the event that there's a wildfire. And lastly, open space. Around the county, there are a variety of different kinds of protected lands. They include watershed, they include parks and recreation areas. Those areas need ongoing stewardship and management. And so these funds would be used to both secure new protected lands, but also to better manage and maintain the existing parks and recreation facilities around the county, open space facilities. So the initiative seeks to ensure that there's appropriate citizen oversight. The money does not go into the general funds. It has to be spent specifically on expenditures that are related to these issue areas. It will not be taken by the county and put into the general funds. It must be spent according to the expenditure plan that's laid out in the initiative. There's a mandatory citizens oversight function, and the funds are dedicated. They cannot be taken by state or federal or anything like that. They have to be spent locally here within the county. So this is an initiative that we're working on, and we believe it'll provide durable funding for all these elements of resilience that the county desperately needs and that poll well amongst the county residents and city residents. What does this mean specifically for St. Helena? We've identified approximately $65 million in projects that are eligible for the funds from this measure, and these are projects that require implementation and ongoing maintenance. So this $65 million is essentially the cost of implementation and maintenance that would be eligible for funds from the initiative, and that includes around 5,700 acres of projects. They're not just in the city, they're in the city, but they're also outside the city in the county lands that abut the city, that protect the city, and in your reservoir locations. So sustained mitigation for St. Helena and our other cities requires this kind of durable funding, and this is really what the measure is focused on. This is a quick preview of some of the projects that have been identified through various planning exercises, including the St. Helena Hazard Mitigation Plan, the County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. All of those involve citizen input, agency input to prioritize those projects, and we're actually going through an exercise now to update some of those plans. So moving on, I want to highlight a specific other initiative that we've developed at Napa Firewise that's beneficial for our county residents and our city residents. It's called the Valley Stewards Initiative. And what the Valley Stewards Initiative focuses on is really closing the gaps in resilience around the county. And what I mean by that is there are lots of larger landowners that are within city limits or outside of city limits, and those landowners have a variety of resilience attributes on their properties. Think roads, think reservoirs, think pools, ponds, tank arrays, think areas that could be staging areas. There are a tremendous amount of resilience attributes that exist on private landowners' properties today that are unknown to firefighters. So Napa Firewise works with landowners to map these critical resilience elements. We build these geospatial data layers, mapping these critical roads that get up onto ridgetops on private land, mapping water sources with the landowner's permission, of course, and participation. We map these details and then we plug them into a system that's called Tablet Command. And that system is used by all firefighters. Doesn't matter if you're city, volunteer, county, or CAL FIRE. So Napa Firewise currently has 200 different landowners, large parcel landowners. We have 100 or so more that are interested in participating in this. And we basically map these critical roaded elements, UTV trails, anything that compartmentalizes the landscape, where there's been fuel reduction, where there are staging areas and water elements, and we import them into this Tablet Command system. And that means that when minutes and moments count, firefighters have this actionable intelligence and they can use it to better contain wildfires and drive better suppression outcomes. We have a number of fires that have happened in the last year and a half where the pre-fire work that Napa Firewise has done and the mapped elements that we've captured were utilized by firefighters and drove better containment outcomes. It's a program that we've developed in close coordination with the fire authorities, landowners, and the insurance industry, and it's getting a lot of traction at the state level to take to other counties as well. So this is a program that may be interesting for some of the Napa residents here in the city and elsewhere, and we use it to buffer around city areas. This is Napa City, Browns Valley. We build these enhanced resilience areas, map these areas around the areas. In your location here, you can imagine Sylvaner as a neighborhood where we're essentially in the process of developing these enhanced resilience sites around the around those neighborhoods. So we think about this resilience multidimensionally. We think about it from every angle, and we want to make sure that essentially, all of the project work that we do, whether it's a fuel reduction project on a ridgetop or whether it's a county road fuel project, we want to make sure that we're capturing this data so that it's useful and effective for firefighters. We make sure that the work that we do is cataloged and inventoried so that it can become actionable intelligence to drive better wildfire containment outcomes. We also make sure that this information can be used to provide better contextualized understanding of risk for insurers. So in some cases, we've actually worked with insurers to develop a product which we're finding is resulting in lower premiums and increased coverage. So we're thinking about this in a comprehensive way, not just in isolated projects. We're thinking about how does this affect insurance? How does it affect wildfire outcomes? And we're gaining momentum with many of these programs, and we're seeing that it's providing, a nice difference out there. So these ERS assets, as I mentioned, they drive better fire response, better insurance outcomes. They provide and protect our watershed and habitat values that we so value, and also community and public health. So this is kind of the way we're thinking about it. As we've worked on this enhanced resilience site framework, we've uncovered about 37,000 acres of stewarded land. We've uncovered hundreds of miles of fire roads that were not necessarily mapped or known by firefighters. And so we're capturing the low-hanging fruit, stuff that already exists, stuff that landowners have invested in to make sure that it can be utilized by firefighters when a fire comes about. I want to wrap up here by just emphasizing what you can all do as residents and how you can participate in improving the resilience of the county. We want to make sure that you think about things at your home level. What does your defensible space look like? How are you working with and coordinating with your neighbors? We want to make sure that you're thinking about joining a fire safe council. There may be folks here that are from rural areas, not necessarily in the city. You have a fire safe council here in St. Helena. There's a Spring Mountain Fire Safe Council. Getting involved with a Fire Safe Council helps you access and understand different programmatic resources that are available to you and helps you to get connected to the issue of wildfire resilience. And then, of course, at Napa Firewise, we're out here doing this work. We want you, to the extent that you can, support the work that we're doing and get involved, not just at an individual level, but at a community level. I'll be happy to take questions at the end, and thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Joe. Next, we have David Capponi with Hub International.
Thanks, everybody. Joe, thank you. Napa County Firewise is doing an amazing job and really been a fantastic resource to the insurance space as well. So just wanted to acknowledge that and thank you. So let me get to my slide here. Okay. Great. So there's a couple of topics I'm going to try and cover pretty quickly here. I've got some notes. I'm going to read through these notes. There's a lot of complicated information. I will be around afterwards, so ask questions, but let's try and get into this. So first is just understanding your insurance. It's key. It's something important. It's something you need to do every single year. So understand what type of policy you have. Is it a standard homeowners policy? Is it a DP3 or a dwelling fire policy? Often used for renters or non-owner occupied homes. Are you on the California Fair Plan? The basic fire policy that I'm sure some of you are aware of. Is your policy excess or surplus lines? So a lot of you may have been pushed out into the excess or surplus lines market. There is a lot of information, or I should say the excess surplus lines market is changing, and it's changing quickly. So, look into that again if you are stuck with the FAIR plan. There could be a good opportunity out there now that's even just a couple of weeks or months old that could help you improve your insurance situation. Think about your replacement cost. So replacement cost it's on your policy, it's your coverage A. What is the insurance carrier going to pay you if your home is damaged? You need to be looking at that and evaluating that every single year. Building costs, reconstruction costs change quickly, and your insurance policy is probably not keeping up with that. So definitely be looking at that and paying attention to those changing rates. How is your policy replacement cost structured? Is it replacement cost? Is it actual cash value? What are the sublimits on your policy? Additional living expense, or ALE. I'll try and include some of the abbreviations for you. Some of these terms might also be interchangeable, so do read it, pay attention to it, contact your broker if you have questions. Additional living expense, that's going to pay for the cost for you to rent other accommodations if your home is damaged by fire, a water loss, any sort of emergency event that happens in your home where your home is no longer, you're no longer able to occupy the home. Think about the cost for renting a property of like, kind, and quality to the home that you're in now. That's what your policy is going to pay for. Do you have enough limit to cover the time that you will likely be out of your home? In the city here, rebuilding or building a home takes quite a bit of time. Even the permitting process takes time. So build that into your thought when you're thinking about these limits that you need to have on your policy. Ordinance and law, another very important coverage. It should be part of every policy. It could vary greatly between the policies that you have, a standard homeowners policy, a fair plan policy, or an excess policy. That's going to cover the new things that are required to be in your home if you have to repair or rebuild that home after a loss event. Electrical code upgrades, sprinkler system, internal fire sprinkler system upgrades, earthquake mitigation upgrades. So think about all of those things and make sure that limit, talk about it with your insurance broker. Make sure that you understand the condition of your home currently when your home was built. Has there been any upgrades to it? And where does it need to be to meet the current code? That could be, it's a number that you need to pay attention to, and the default one in your policy may or may not be correct. Finally, when you're reading your policy, look at the exclusions. Understand in your policy what is going to be excluded, and if there's any wildfire specific or exclusions or sublimits or subjectivities. Subjectivities on defensible space, anything that your carrier is requiring you to do to protect the property, so that you're not creating a situation that's going to create a loss. Don't assume that you understand this. If you have a question, get a hold of your insurance broker and ask and go through those exclusions line by line. Next slide. Are we on? Yeah. Coverage isn't something you buy once and forget about. It's something you maintain. Few habits go a long way. So review your policy every year. We covered that. The building costs, has your risk profile changed? Have you changed something at your home? Have you built an ADU? Have you built a pool house? Have you built a new deck, added solar, added batteries? Any of those things that you've added into your property, make sure that you're consulting with your insurance broker and including those things that are changing throughout the year. Maybe you've done some sort of renovation to add in the ember resistant venting. You've replaced the roof. That's a great thing that can get you credits on your insurance policy and also help you avoid a potential non-renewal. Update your insurance broker. Make sure you keep those policies up to date on things that you've done each year. So next is about documenting. So document your home. Prior to the loss, go through, make a list, take photos. What I always tell clients is everybody's got a camera on their cell phone now. Start the recording and walk around the home room to room. Make sure to capture everything that's in the room. You can even open cabinets and drawers and just get a few seconds of video of what is in that space. If you have to file a claim later, it's very easy to forget all of the stuff that you had, where the things were. And when you're dealing with insurance carriers and trying to pay these claims, if you have this video documentation, it's very easy to document the collection of whatever it is that you had. So it's easy, it's simple. It can take you just a few minutes to go around and do this. Hopefully, and then put that on your iCloud, put it in a place that it's not going to be lost if your house was to be involved in a fire, so that your evidence doesn't burn up with the home. If your insurance carrier sends you any sort of wildfire mitigation survey or defensible space request, don't sit on it. Get it done right away. Get a hold of your insurance broker and understand exactly what they're asking for and take care of it as quickly as you can. The sooner you can get into that information back to the carrier, the less likely you're going to bump into some sort of deadline that they have on their end where they're forced to make a decision. There's a lot of things that they're going through right now, trying to capture information, gain information on mitigation that's been done in the area, protective devices, alarm systems, sprinkler systems, water storage, things like that they're trying to capture to make sure that you're fitting their underwriting capability. So make sure you don't miss that opportunity. And again, if you have questions, contact your broker. Again, I've got another note here about just talking about renovations. A lot of times you may have done a remodel renovation on the home, even if it's minor, but you might have done several other things along the way that really improve the fire resistance of the building, replacing the ventings, replacing insulation, replacing a roof, changing the roof to a Class A roof. So those are all great things that you need to be, that are mitigation efforts that you also need to be presenting to your insurance carrier. The last note on this one is never let your policy lapse. So it's one of the most challenging things that we deal with our clients. They were away on vacation, they missed the bill, the mail didn't show up for whatever reason, fill in the blank of the excuse, but the insurance policy has canceled and now the insured is without coverage and now you need to try and replace that coverage. Oftentimes, potentially, especially in St. Helena in our area here, your insurance carrier with currently may not rewrite the policy that they just had. So it's very important to not let that happen. So I would recommend setting up auto pay with your insurance carrier. Most insurance carriers will have some sort of solution where you can put that policy on auto pay. And so it just hits whatever bank account, credit card each and every month, and you're not going to miss a payment and then have that lapse in coverage. So, really important. Do talk with your insurance broker about that if you have any questions. It will prevent a lot of headaches by setting that up. Okay. So just talking briefly about the market itself, understand that our market has gotten a lot harder. I'm sure everybody here is aware of that. carrier by carrier, they determine their underwriting standards for the fire zone that we are in. It's considered to be a high hazard wildfire area for most all of St. Helena. Now there's some differing, areas depending on your proximity to the hillsides. So there may be a different level of acceptability, but most carriers consider everything up valley here to be a extreme or high wildfire zone. So just to understand that, and as I mentioned earlier, the market changes. It changed pretty quickly on us after 2017, 2020. Everybody started losing their homeowners insurance or business insurance, whatever insurance it may be. Things are starting to reverse a little bit. Some of our standard carriers are accepting a few more policies than they did, just last year. But that non-standard or non-admitted excess surplus lines market is getting very flexible. It still might not be the right solution for you. You might have a admitted policy, with any standard admitted insurance carrier, that you're not the candidate. But if you have the FAIR plan, or if you don't have coverage at all, now is the time to start making those calls, because potentially there's a solution there. And it changes. It's changing every week at this point. We're having new programs come back to the area, work that the community has done, and fortunately not having as many wildfire events recently has really kind of helped that. So the FAIR plan, just to cover briefly on that, it's fire only coverage is what it's described as. There is no liability coverage. There is no coverage for theft, water damage. The standard homeowners coverages that we're all used to do not apply in the FAIR plan. If you do have the FAIR plan, you should have an additional policy that's called a difference in conditions policy, or a DIC, to fill in those gaps. So look at your policy, make sure that you have that additional coverage. If you do have the FAIR plan, as I stated earlier, your excess and surplus lines, that would be a replacement homeowners policy. So back to one single policy that's going to include the liability and the more standard homeowners coverages. The excess and surplus lines market is a regulated market. It's a good solution to provide the coverages that you can't probably get elsewhere. So definitely consider that. Defensible space, Joe did a great job of covering this, but do remember it's very important at your own property. If you can avoid having the fire loss, you're far better off. Than your insurance policy doesn't matter at that point. So do think about defensible space even around your own home. What sort of things, if a wildfire is in the area, could support fire continuing to the building? So wood piles, where do you keep your trash cans? Those plastic rolly bins that we all have, are they directly against the building, or are they away from the building? Those things are combustible, and they're often filled with combustible materials. And even though your home can survive that wildfire approaching, those bins do not survive. And when they catch on fire, that helps spread the fire to the building. So think about defensible space right around your home, that 100-foot area around your home, and what things are in that area that you can move and or should move. I think we're at the end. So try and keep it quick. I'll be available for questions afterwards, but thank you very much.
Thank you, David Capponi. We're running a little ahead of time. That's great. J.C. Greenberg, Deputy Chief with CAL FIRE and Napa County Fire Department.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief Sorensen, and thank you, St. Helena, for having us up here tonight to speak with you and talk more about fire outside of the county and how we work here within the city as well. So as Chief mentioned, J.C. Greenberg, Deputy Fire Chief here at CAL FIRE, Sonoma Lake, Napa, and also Napa County Fire Department. When we talk about CAL FIRE, LNU, or Sonoma Lake, Napa, we actually cover 6 counties here. So Sonoma Lake, Napa, Yolo, Colusa, and Solano counties. So we have resources out there. This is what we call the state responsibility area for wildland fire protection and also mutual aid as well. So tonight I'm going to talk to you about where our resources are across those 6 counties, and then also talk about our local fire department here that's within Napa County, our fire marshal's office, and also we're going to kick this off with a seasonal outlook, or kind of what do we expect this summer? We're already at the end of July. What do we have coming in this 3rd and 4th quarter of these summer months and fire expectations? So with that, let's move to that outlook. A lot of work has gone in the late winter months and spring to really size up what this fire season for California is going to look like in general. And then specifically here in Northern California, where we all reside. With the predictions of the El Nino year coming through, what does that mean? That means drier conditions, erratic weather events that come through. So that's going to include whether the winds, the lightning, the storms that come through, or just an early flush of rain as we move into the fall months. So some of the things that we've seen so far that kind of validate these forecasts that the meteorologists have provided this information with is we've had red flag warnings in Northeast California for about the past 4 weeks. So if you take a look at Modoc County, our CAL FIRE resources and a lot of other local government resources have mobilized up there, helping them with dry lightning events that have caused fire spreads, been on the road. Even to this day, they're still in that fire threat zone with low humidities, erratic winds, and the potential for dry lightning. Take a look at our neighbors to the north, Oregon and Washington. Currently right now, looking on the maps, they are having major fire problems. And I will tell you that CAL FIRE and our local jurisdictions have been sending resources up there to help them. Those folks came down here in 2017 and 2020 to help us when we had our major fire problems. And with the reduced activity locally here in the southern part of Northern California, we have the ability to go up there. So we just mobilized resources as of this morning to go up to Washington. We already have resources up in Oregon for the past 2 weeks. And we just had some engines return from Colorado that were helping those partners out as well. So this statewide theme of what we have for weather as we move into the later fall months, it's the anticipation and forecast that these erratic systems are going to be moving deeper into California and could be a threat to us. And the posture of the fire department is prepped and ready for that as well if those predictions come through there. So locally here, our north wind events are major problems that we experience coming into the August months and through the November months. So hopefully those are minimized at best or come with wetting rain as well. So moving into our 6 counties that we serve, you'll see up on the screen there that we have a West Division, a South Division, North Division, East Division, and these are where all of our stations are located. Our engines are located throughout there to serve these 6 counties. In addition, we also have 6 bulldozers and 9 hand crews that support our fire response just on the ground resources coming from CAL FIRE on the state side. And then our aerial fleet that helps us in fire suppression. So this is a big targeted area that CAL FIRE in the state has made significant improvements to. So whether it's bringing our C-130s online, so the reconstructed aircraft to be able to deliver 4,000 gallons of retardant at one time, and also the night flying capabilities of the helicopters. Just last year in the Picket Fire was the first time that we had night flying rotary wing helicopters supporting us with water drops. We were able to stay engaged on the ground suppression with the safety of the firefighters, continuing the bulldozers because we had that night flying water dropping capability. So a major improvement. So if you look here in Sonoma Lake, Napa, we have the fixed wing that's based out of the Sonoma Air Attack Base or Santa Rosa Airport. And that's Tanker 86, and it's in S2 at 1,200 gallons of retardant. And then Tanker 133, which is that C-130 that I talked about that holds 4,000 gallons of retardant. And then we also have an Air Attack 140, and that person is is our air traffic controller that's up above all of the aircraft that's either dropping water or retardant, and they're guiding in those aerial resources so that it's coordinated. We don't have a midair, and we also don't drop on the ground resources that are trying to work the fires. Down below there, you'll see the rotary wing aircraft. So Copter 616, that's actually a CAL FIRE helicopter with a helitack crew. And that's our new Firehawks that can operate at night. And they also have 1,000 gallons water dropping capabilities. And then the last two helicopters you see there, the Chinook and the Blackhawk, these are what we call exclusive use. So where CAL FIRE at a state level boasts our aerial resources, and they contract with private contractors to provide aerial resources throughout the summer months. So we have one locally here to support this area down at the Napa airport. And that's our Chinook right there with the 2,300 gallon water dropping capability. And we also have the additional Blackhawk located over in Santa Rosa at the air attack base as well. Okay, switching to more of the local resources that we have here. So CAL FIRE, Napa County Fire, is made up of a combination department of career firefighters and also volunteers. So we have 4 staff fire stations, 4 Amador, which is at our CAL FIRE state facilities. We have a technical rescue team, a hazardous materials team, a swift and surface water rescue team. So this is when we have floods or we have incidents up at any of our lake reservoirs to support that. And then we also have our 9 volunteer stations with an additional 5 satellite stations for a total of 14 volunteer stations throughout the county. And this is a large component of our Napa County Fire Department, over 150 volunteers that are residents here in the community that serve our local communities here to help us, whether it's city, county, state jurisdiction, or they wind up traveling the state to support on those larger missions as well. So a big component here that we are very thankful for at Napa County Fire here. One other thing I want to talk about is, so when we look at CAL FIRE, Napa County Fire Department, and different jurisdictions, throughout the county as well, even here in St. Helena City, Calistoga City, Napa City, we work very well together through the mutual aid system. Even in the early hours this morning, we had a structure fire up in Deer Park, and resources throughout the county and here in St. Helena City were there to support us through there. When other jurisdictions have large incidents, then the county is coming in to support them as well. So really a well-exercised mutual aid system to support all the residents here. Moving through our vegetation management and our Napa County Fire Marshal's office. So our Fire Marshal, Jason Downs, is here in the audience with us here. He has a team here in Napa County that works closely with our fire department, a part of our fire department, for our fire marshaling and working with residents on defensible space. They have a team of 6 defensible space inspectors that just last year completed a remarkable 5,409 inspections. So you've heard this defensible space or DSI theme, whether it's from our insurance, from Napa Firewise, the importance of us getting out, working with residents to educate them on what they need to do at their house, taking a walk around, guiding them through that blueprint, how to be prepared for wildfire season and fire threats in their community. So it's a benefit on the insurance side, but at the end of the day, we are looking to go out there and help these residents be protected. There's some statistics up there that you'll see that was also presented by Napa Firewise. When our CEO, Joe Nordlinger, talked about this coordination with the fire agencies, Napa County Fire, CAL FIRE. So whether it's local, state levels, Napa Firewise is working with us on these partnerships, guiding on where we want these suppression lines. At the end of the day, the pre-fire, the success is coming for where do we want these fuel breaks, these dozer lines, these community fuel breaks before the fire start. And it's so important that this work is done. We saw the return on investment during the Picket fire. There was a significant amount of work that was done, funded by our county, implemented by Napa Firewise, guided by the fire department, and it takes all these partners working together to actually get this work done before the fire start. Huge investments there, huge successes, and the outcome of the Picket fire could have been a lot more devastating to the populated areas that surround Calistoga, St. Helena, up in Deer Park, Angwin, and definitely down in Pope Valley. So we saw those returns. We are marching forward. We are building the plans. Joe has the blueprint. We have this worked out, and we just continue working on the ground there. We also, Napa County and our Board of Supervisors also funds a free chipping program to support our residents to improve their defensible space. So this is a opportunity where the residents either clear the materials themselves or hire a company to come clear them. But once they have it stacked in Windroad, the county is going to come out and chip all of those materials for you so that you're not having those sitting there fire prone next to your homes. It is a great way as a partnership to reduce those fuels, get rid of those materials, dispose of, so that you are prepared. And so this program's been going on since the early 2000s. It's only grown, the residents and reviews behind it, a lot of return customers. So highly encourage our county residents to continue utilizing that program. And the last thing I want to tie in with our fire marshal's office is this dedicated team is out there working on fire plans, whether it's new constructions, remodels, commercial inspections, to make sure that the life safety of our public is taken care of, and also making sure that the fire systems are in place for the safety of our firefighters that respond. So we greatly appreciate their partnership there. Having them in-house working together on here has been a great success. The town of Yountville has contracted with them as well, being a smaller jurisdiction, and they utilize our Napa County Fire Marshal's office for all their fire marshaling and plan review needs. So great partners across the valley there as well. So look forward to any questions at the end of this, and thank you very much.
Thank you, JC. Next, we have Interim St. Helena Police Chief Justin Tharp, and we have Lieutenant Kyle Eddleman from the Napa County Sheriff's Department.
Good evening, everybody, or good afternoon, I should say. We're going to start off with Mr. Eddleman, because we're going to start off with Genesis, which is formerly Zone Haven. He is the guru in the county. I have a general working knowledge, but this is the gentleman that knows the ins and outs probably as good as anybody. So I'll let him start off.
All right. Oh, we didn't do the shortest to tallest. Okay. Hi there. Kyle Eddleman, Lieutenant with the Napa County Sheriff's Office. I wanted to speak a little bit about some of the resources and tools that are available to our first responders and community partners to be prepared and then respond effectively. But first and foremost, the most effective resource that we have are the good working relationships among our first responder teams. I want to extend thank you to Interim Chief Tharp. From a law enforcement standpoint, I've never had to call for and ask for help. He's always been there to offer it. We have an outstanding working relationship between law and fire first responders, and then also members of the community. We've seen time and again in Napa County as a whole, especially with incidents that have been involved up valley here in the community in the city of St. Helena, that the community has also been extremely supportive of the efforts and has helped their neighbors, helped their fellow community members, and their first responder teams. We're very cognizant and aware of that. And some of the resources that I would like to share with you today, specifically Genesis, formerly known as Zone Haven, as a resource, and explain how that integrates into our overall strategic approach for how we address interacting with the community from primarily from an evacuation mindset. Up here on the screen and available to you are two QR codes, both of which are resources that are available to you as members of the community to give you access to a large portion of the decision-making tools that are being utilized inside of Unified Command. Unified Command is a concept when responding to disasters, the members of law enforcement and the fire service and other non-government agencies and responding entities work together cohesively to work off of a common sheet of music, to all play the same tune and be effective and drive what we would consider to be data-driven, experience-directed response, utilizing not just information, but firsthand experience and rapid information being provided by personnel in the field and community members experiencing the disaster to help direct the most effective and efficient response. Some of those responses that will be directed, we would consider them tactics to employ in response to disaster, and Interim Chief Tharp will go into more detail on that in a moment. If we want to think about this is a little bit of a peek behind the curtain for how decisions that are going to direct law enforcement and fire service responses in the field. This is a little bit of a peek behind the curtain on some of the resources that we utilize to do this. Okay? Oftentimes, the evacuation plan development begins with a preparation, planning ahead of time. Ms. Jones spoke about that, and our Firewise Council leader, Mr. Nordlinger, alluded to that, and how some of that information is brought into a plan. He mentioned a program called Tablet Command that's utilized by the fire service throughout Napa County at all levels, from volunteer, city, and county fire. Genesis and Zone Haven integrates with that. What it is primarily, and we'll discuss this and you'll be able to see an opportunity. What we get into that is it takes the terrain, the geography and topography, utilizing known roads, routes, and other information, algorithmically divides it into subzones that allow, when we are working on a disaster that spans multiple jurisdictions or multiple areas, allows first responders to predict disaster behavior, decide community impact, and how to best target our resources effectively to ensure that public safety of life and property is the priority. And we do that using this, the integration of systems, the data, but then also the experience of the responders in the field and the community members providing information. What we'll talk primarily about are some of the portions in here in step 2. Right? The unified command structure with the cohesive working together, bridging with law enforcement, fire service, and other involved stakeholders and entities, providing an accurate message so as we can disambiguize the area in which we're working, the scope of the disaster, and the expectations for our community and our first responders as they respond in the field, and then allow some sort of built-in redundancy so that things don't slip through the cracks. Right? Some of the things that the community can do, if you, and again, the slide available, I believe this video will be available to the public going forward, and Interim Chief Tharp will allude to this more. Sign up for the alerts, receive vetted, accurate information from your local messaging. That's done through Everbridge, and you can access that through Alert Napa County and Alert St. Helena as well. Sign up for or utilize the resources available to you so that you can maintain your own situational awareness. And see this. Some of the sign up information up here as an example. I'm going to allow Chief Tharp to speak on this more in detail. Okay.
Thank you, Lieutenant Eddleman. I appreciate your time. So evacuation tags. We can't stress these enough. These were actually, I believe, Sheriff Robertson actually came up with this idea and started it with the county. We tagged on it and made our own because we wanted to say St. Helena. What this is, when you evacuate, and we've given the evacuation notice to evacuate, when you leave your home, we'd like you to put this in a conspicuous place. What this does, it allows officers and those that are helping you evacuate know that you've already evacuated and not waste any more time at your residence. Some people ask, well, if I put that in there, doesn't it let thieves know that my house is empty? Yeah, that could be the case, but the idea is too that we're coming in and providing security in those evacuated zones. And if we see this tag hanging on your fence and we see somebody on your front porch, somebody's going to get talked to. Also, if you don't put this on and we believe you've evacuated, there's nobody in the home, the officer is going to tie it on your fence so that nobody wastes any more time there. These are available at the police department and the fire department. They're at the back there. I think they've been handing them out today. Go to the next page. Evacuation drills. We have drills coming up this next year. We do an informational at Woodbridge where we get everybody together. We talk about what would happen in an evacuation, how we get people out of there, how the non-ambulatory would evacuate. Vineyard Valley does a full evacuation where we actually drive out of 2 exits, one out onto Pope Street, one across the levee out the back. We have a rendezvous point where they get a bottle of water and a list of things they need on their go bag for their go bag. We encourage them to bring their go bag and treat it as if it's a real incident, thus helping neighbors that need to be helped, and forming those community bonds for those that don't drive, that are less than ambulatory, those kinds of things. We're starting the plan, Chief Sorensen and I, for 2027. We're going to do another full city evacuation. We break it into 2 halves. You get a little ice cream. We check your go bag. We answer questions. It's a good way to get everything ready to make sure that you know what you're going to do if that event does happen. Next slide. Oh, let me go back. That's the little high-low siren, and it was working earlier. It isn't now. If you hear the high-low siren, it's time to go. It's important to know that the fire department makes recommendations for evacuation. The police department carries it out with the help of the sheriff's department and other allied agencies. We're big on taking care of ourselves, having a plan. You don't need to wait for us to tell for the police department to tell you it's time to go. Such as the fire where there was chunks of debris falling on homes over in Vineyard Valley. If you don't feel it's safe, we're all responsible for our own well-being. And if you don't think it's safe, it's time to go. We can evacuate anytime. Another good story I like to tell is, I believe it was, what's the fire that went over the hill? I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Glass. The whole valley was socked in just thick with smoke. I tell this story often. And I remember you could hardly breathe. It was choking. And I looked at my family and I said, there's no reason for everybody to stand here and breathe this air. And I sent them all to Sacramento. We're all allowed to make personal decisions on our own that are for our own well-being. And nobody will fault anybody for that. We just ask that you follow evacuation instructions when they come. But there's nothing wrong with taking yourself and taking care of your neighbors as well. Okay, but I want to go over go bags a little bit too. Go bags. I think, Brieanna, you told me a list of medications and they'll help provide at the evacuation shelter.
Yeah, so a lot of times we used to tell people that go bags needed to include medication, but now if you have a medication list, it can go in your go bag, and then if we have an evacuation site, then we can help fill those medications, because obviously you don't want to take any medication and have it in a bag that should be either by your door or in your car.
Yeah, that was something new I learned just the other day. I didn't realize they would offer that. I would recommend keeping a week's worth. I have one of those little blue things, 7 days, that I line mine up and keep mine in my go bag. We talked about having a map, a plan of where you're going to go, a hotel, family, the evacuation center. If it's a St. Helena incident, such as a flood, we'll set up an evacuation center. If it's a fire, which usually is including the county will have an evacuation or rendezvous point where you at least can start and then work out from there. We recommend some water, some canned or dried food, some clothing, durable clothing, glasses and contact solution, and of course your cell phone and a good charger. And I would tell you, make sure all that's in the bag, because in the last minute, you're not going to remember to roll your charger up and bring it with you. And you'll be upset when that phone's dead and you can't get where you need to go. I mean, we depend so much on that now. You make sure you roll it up and have it ready to go. Some extra additional considerations: personal hygiene items, toothbrushes, copies of prescriptions, pet supply, food and stuff for your pet, medication, documents, copies of your insurance paperwork, your ID, your birth certificates, etc., so you can get yourself back up and going quickly if something happens to happen to your home. Cash and small denomination, a blanket or a sleeping bag, first aid kits. Again, we provide these. It's got some basic what to do's if there's different kinds of floods, wildfires, but there's got all the information on the back for the go bag. And you can bring it to the police department or the fire department, and we'll go through it with you to make sure that we think everything's in there that you need if you're concerned. There's also a nice little magnet the fire department gives out, the city of St. Helena. There's probably some on the back table there. You can grab one of those. And we'll take questions at the end. John, you're up.
All right. John Sorensen, Fire Chief. The St. Helena Fire Department readiness, 21 total staff members, myself, Fire Chief, behind me, Fire Inspector Alec Vidler, and 19 firefighters. That is both part and full-time. We have 5 engines and 1 ladder truck. Okay, weed abatement. This was due in June 1st of every year, and we'd send out a public awareness, reminders posted on social media, Instagram, ad in the St. Helena Star. Everybody knows that it's coming. And I am really lucky in this town for the response that we have for people cleaning up the grass. And sometimes this one, some people have had to mow 3-4 times. It's still coming. If everybody drives down and sees a tree tunnel, it's still coming up and it won't stop. Also, Farmstead, that big field over there, it's green and it's still coming up. That part of town has a different water table than most. Okay, and if you don't, you get a friendly reminder door hanger that goes on your door, first notice left on the door, and it's kind of a, hey, you really need to tidy up, cut the grass. If the property has no structure, contact is made by the phone. We know most everybody in town. And so if you don't, and that goes for 2 weeks, then you get a stake notice. This is a stake. So it's about this high. You see those around town. 10 days after the door hanger is still in violation, then this will be staked. And then we send a letter saying that you need to abate within 10 days. Okay, this is a fire that I showed at the city council meeting. This is a fire out in Lake County, Morgan Valley Road. So you'd go to Lower Lake and then go Morgan Valley Road before it meets Knoxville Road. And this is the Jerusalem fire in 2014. I took this video. I was a strike team leader, and I got a call from an engine that was in a little bit of trouble. He was down the road. This was not my strike team. And my trainee was Zach Curran, a Napa City fire chief then. And so this fire is on your right, and I'll play it a little bit, and you can see how high the grass is, probably thigh, up to your knees, thigh, and the wind is probably 8 to 12, and the fire is coming over, and this is a Colorado engine that was down this dead-end road, and they had a house down there, and they were asking if they could fire out, meaning put fire to the ground to get a little defensible space before this head fire hit them. So if you can imagine, if you're looking at that, okay, and you can see way down the street there, you'll see this piece of fire. Say that's a fusee that he threw in there, okay? Now the thing is it's too late, okay? Some people, I think we asked the mayor how long he thought it would take. And he, what do you say, Mr. Mayor, 3 or 4 minutes? Yeah, not even close. So, oops, okay, we're gonna play it again. Okay, yeah, I know. So anyway, you would think, this was a tough spot for us to be in, and especially them. So I said, hey, go ahead, get it back in your rig, get all your crew, get back in the rig. And then it hit them. Then the camera, this is uncut. It go off screen because we're trying to find their boss, trying to find a helicopter to make a bucket drop, get them some support. And then there's that time where they're scrambling and you can't get in communication. It seems like it's forever, but then I get myself back together, get back on there, and you can see how hard that hit that house. But they were fine. They were fine. They got back on their rig, they went behind it and got some cover. But that is why we want all grass in St. Helena no higher than 4 inches tall. Okay? Defensible space in city limits. How to create defensible space. Remove all dead, dying, and decayed vegetation from your property and maintain grass to 4 inches. Okay? And remember, the gutters, sometimes you can't see them. You can't see what's inside of them. But an ember cast is what is going to ignite this real leafy litter that can ignite and then get up into the attic. And if you don't have the right type of roof or what have you, you are looking for trouble. Keep your roof and eaves and gutters clear of debris. Remove plants alongside your home, particularly under eaves and overhangs. And pyrophytic, there's a list on our website, which I'll go into of plants like rosemary that are very flammable. Maintain 10 feet of clearance around your between tree branches and your roof. Now, I'm going to show you an ember cast. No, I'm going to show you the defensible space certificate. Okay, there's a certificate that you can get from us. There's a checkoff list, and I'm going to show you at the very, very end on how to find this to have a defensible space certificate. And this is identical to the requirements for Napa County. It is the same one. Okay, this will not necessarily 100% help you achieve insurance, but it could help. It could help. David puts his head up and down. Yes, it could help. Okay, but when after you do it, it's not that far out. It's not that difficult to achieve the criteria of the Defensible Space Certificate. All right, and come out. It's free. We'll come out. Alec goes out and does the inspections. The engine company. I go out and do the inspections, and they're not that difficult. Okay, this is what we're talking about in Embercast. Okay, this is Healdsburg, the Kincaid fire in 2019. I shot this video, and this is 70 miles an hour sustained, gusts up to 100, and it was concerning. That's for sure. I had to park my rig with the wind because the winds were so battling. The truck was just shaking so much. But it ignited. You can see that if you have a receptive fuel bed, those embers will light off everything. So that is why we need to keep our houses really clean and tidy, all the ground litter clean. Okay. Here's another thing we have active is a FEMA grant. We have a Defensible Space and Fuels Management grant. Okay, we submitted this right after the 2020 fires in September 2nd of 21. So 5 years we've been waiting for this. It's getting, it's moving. It's not over. Some people thought that with the new administration that this would be cut, but it isn't. It's still alive. The grand total is $2.488 million. And the St. Helena's portion is 25%, which we need to throw in $622,000, and then the balance the feds will do. This is what it's cleaning up. That is today. I took that out at the water treatment plant. Those are dead and down from the glass fire, and those trees still every now and again fall on the road, and you can see where the fence is all bent from those trees falling in. But these snags need to be removed. The city cannot touch any of the areas that is in the grant, or it could jeopardize the entire grant. These areas are the lower reservoir, the Bell Canyon Reservoir. There is Howe Mountain Road. There are different private properties that are in this grant process, and there's near White Sulphur Springs, Spring Mountain, Spring Street. So anyway, we're getting closer. I just met with some more biologists, and they wanted to go out and look at like 5 trees. So we went out there and looked at some clumps of trees that they were concerned about. So we're getting closer. All right. And then I have the go bag in there that is in the back of the room. You could take those pamphlets with you. It's a good thing to have. It's not that bad. Some people say, well, Chief, what's your wife do? What do you guys do? And I go, well, that's what Mrs. Sorensen has. She has this, and it's already in the car. Okay. She just has a little bag that has the wedding the birth certificates, the passports, and what have you. And she grabs that, the dog on her phone, car's pointed out, and out she goes. So that is a good plan to have. And for disaster preparedness, you see all those arrows there, disaster and emergency preparedness. All you have to do is go to the St. Helena website. Okay, it's right on the front. You don't even have to scroll down. It's right there, disaster and emergency preparedness. And there is everything that you want to see. The defensible space certificates. It has the go bags. It has all the zones, the Genesis zones. It is just a lot of information. There's also the GAC, the Geographical Area Coordination Center, right, JC, which is up in Reading, which is CAL FIRE and the feds both have a predictive services that will show if there's going to be what is the possibilities of a major fire this week. Okay, and it comes out every day. You can just click it. It's a 7-minute podcast or it'll be a webcast, and I watch it every day. And most of the chiefs do, so we can see. And then it'll give you an outlook of 7 days. And if you do look at it, we are mid-coast to Mendocino. It's the second one down, okay? And it has a legend in different boxes. So when you see a wind event coming, say, oh, you'll probably know red flag is coming before anybody else if you watch this. Also, that is about it. Yeah, so just click that button and you should be good. You can always call us. My phone number, my cell phone is the number on if you go to services and then go down to fire department, you can always call me. All right. And now we're going to get into questions. I got to retool real quick and move these mics around. This side of the room, Brieanna, you have the one mic, and then we'll have a mic for police and fire on this side. So you're going to ask the question, and I'll call in to kind of help, direct. But you're going to ask the question, and then I will okay, that's going to be this room, this side of the room, and then they're going to repeat it so it's captured on the video. And by the way, the video will be on the city website probably in a day or so. All right. Okay, do we have any questions? Mr. Farmer.
I was just wondering how resilient are the cell towers now compared to when the situation was last fire?
I can chime in a little bit.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. So the question is, how resilient are the cell towers now compared to 2017 or 2020, I'm assuming? And to answer that, there has been additional requirements on cell providers such as AT&T and Verizon. They have to give us their emergency operations plan. I hold all of those, and then they're required to do some defensible space and have generator backup. I believe they might work with local like Firewise, but I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, we so I think to Brieanna's point, they have a requirement to maintain certain defensible space. We have conducted a number of projects that have to do with cell repeater towers and county infrastructure for communications. And then we do fuel mitigation work in the vicinity of some of these cell towers. We have not actually contracted or done work directly with cell providers for their towers, but my understanding is they have requirements of maintaining certain kinds of defensible space.
Okay, we have one from Ann Cottrell.
I first just wanted to make the observation. I think we've heard from the sheriff and the Deputy Eddleman and Chief Greenberg about the importance of communication and coordination. And Chief Greenberg and I were at a meeting recently with the 6 other counties that are in our Wildfire LMU. And it's really clear that Napa County has one of the tightest working relationships between all our first responders. So I think that should make us all feel safer. Thank you, Chief Tharp, for having us together here today, and Chief Sorensen. My question is for Chief Sorensen. I hear questions from residents sometimes about bamboo. Bamboo is not grass. So is it subject to the weed abatement ordinance? And if people are concerned about their neighbor's bamboo, what would you recommend?
It is a grass. Bamboo is a grass. It is green, and that's at a tough spot. If it was dead, for us, it's dead, dying, and decaying, has to be removed. And arunda, is that what you're talking about? Arunda, it looks like corn. There's a nice clump when you go over the Tammany Bridge on Deer Park Road. You can see that clump there. I see it every day when I go to work. Does anybody want to talk about JC about? Okay, that's clear. Yes, it's green, and there was a fire that ran through a creek bed with arunda, and there was some folks that were staying in the creek bed, and I think that was down south somewhere, and that got a lot of hype, that one incident. Okay, any other questions?
Do you believe there is any situation where a person living rurally cannot escape? What should they do? It's never addressed.
They can't escape. Rurally. If you can't escape. The question was, if you live rurally, sorry, and you can't escape, what should you do to best protect yourself? I would say first see if you have phone service and you can get a hold of somebody, because there may be some kind of attempt at rescue. I know that there was some pretty heroic rescues during the glass fire. I would say I know several people that got to a place of no vegetation on the outside of the building, put towels over their face, and made it through it. What does the fire department recommend for this?
Yeah, I think police chief brings up a good point. Is you're in a situation where you are trapped. You do need to call 911 to get help coming. Back in 2017, we did experience that here in Napa County, especially on the Atlas Peak area, and we were able to use our helicopter CHP services to get residents out that couldn't make it down these Atlas Peak roads. But this has been experienced throughout California. So making sure that you can have that communication doing that. But as far as, being trapped, last resort, that is something that you're going to have a pre-designated plan. When you live rurally, that is working with your fire department, your fire safe councils, for what a temporary refuge area is to retreat to and where that may be. Not trying to travel down roads that have trees that are blocking them, fire embers. We talk about chimney chutes, inward turns where fire moves very quickly and rapidly, where you put yourself in danger, but more or less a shelter in place where you can survive, making sure that you are away from fire dangers there. But your first plan is to try to notify, make that contact so somebody knows that you are in danger, and resources can make access to quickly assist you with that as well.
Thank you.
Anything else, Scott? Okay, any more questions? Mr. Mayor.
I get a question often about the thought process in evacuation modeling, and I know it's a very complicated science. A lot of folks don't really understand that, including me. But I know there's a lot of deep thinking in this area. There's a little concern, maybe just a paranoia, because we don't have that information about the modeling of what could go wrong. We're in the Napa Valley, we have Silverado Trail, we have Highway 29, and folks are concerned, like, what if a road is just not accessible? Then what happens? Can someone just kind of think about the thinking that goes through that? And is that an evolving process as we learn more about it? And what does fire service and emergency services do? How do you plan for that, the bad events that could happen, so that we give more comfort to our citizens that, yes, we are thinking about it, and it's always difficult to predict where a fire is going to start or another emergency. Talk a little bit about the thought process there and what goes into the modeling and how we best prepare for that.
I can tell you in the past that summarize the question. The question is, how do we work on getting people out in evacuation, times of evacuation, when roadways can be closed and pinch points and things of that nature. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. I will tell you this, that the planning starts the minute I meet at the back of the pickup with our fire chief. He'll start to tell me what's going on, where the fire's at, what the prediction of movement is, where they think there's going to be pinch points and road problems, and we start developing a plan right there. We'll quickly fold in the sheriff's office because, frankly, the fires don't usually start in our jurisdiction. They're coming out to in. So standing next to me a lot of times is Lieutenant Eddleman saying, hey, I think we should do X, Y, and Z, and we're formulating a plan. And between all three of us, probably close to 60 years of law enforcement and fire experience, and knowing the county, knowing where we live, and egress and ingress routes and things of those natures. So we'll make a decision that best fits the situation that's at hand at that point in time. And it may change as things evolve quickly.
Yeah, to kind of expand on what Chief Tharp's talking about, is there do exist a series of plans and models that are on foot. Ms. Jones had alluded to some of that. Some of the fire risk and fuel pattern, things like that, the fire service is better equipped to discuss. To stay within the realm of law enforcement's experience, is we do have tools. Law enforcement is frequently provided the opportunity to have access to tablet command to see the same type of information that the fire service has. The fire service are the experts in wildland fire and fire behavior, fire movement. They have outstanding modeling that the fire, if needed, they can further expand on. In terms of how we would Chief Tharp and I may work with the available law enforcement resources and some of the specific tactics and techniques that we would leverage to most effectively move people out. We do have modeling programs within I'm going to call it the back end, the user side, not the consumer public side. There do exist modeling options available to us on the user side to select geographic areas, put in various different parameters, adjust populations, vehicles, road closures, and things like that to model what traffic behavior may be like. The problem is that with a lot of these plans, or the challenges, I would say, not a problem. The challenges with these types of plans is, as the warrior poet Mike Tyson would say, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the face. Yeah. And our experience in Napa County has been that some of these disasters, they approach us much like an unexpected punch in the face. They're sudden, they're unexpected, and they can feel very extreme. So what we rely on is a lot of this data, as I mentioned before, the data that we gather from these models, from these pre-existing plans, from the information gained from our partners throughout the year with the Firewise councils and our community members and the hard working efforts of our fire marshals for these types of things, but also the day-to-day experience to drive the actual tactics. No plan can accurately predict the most unpredictable thing in the world, which is human behavior. Will people evacuate? Will they respond in a timely manner? Will they cooperate with the efforts of law enforcement? How many law enforcement can we inject into this problem to effectively bolster a response? It's difficult to pre-plan a lot of these things. So we take what data that we can have, work on the data and additional information being provided on scene at the time to guide response, and then we leverage the experience, data-driven, experience-directed, to be targeted in those response. Everything from shutting down roads to using what we would call contraflow, southbound traffic in the northbound lanes. There are certain sets of circumstances where that may be effective, but it may present additional issues. And that is being directed not at the moment, making it up as we go, but considered, evaluated, being referenced with data available to us, the knowledge that we have, and then leveraging the experience and information in as near real time as possible through the unified command system to direct those efforts. To your question about, is this an ongoing and evolving thing, process? Absolutely. In Napa County, the sheriff's office personnel, Chief Tharp's people have been involved in multiple tabletop simulated exercises throughout the year, working together with scenarios, practicing so that the first time that we're doing this for this particular incident live isn't the first time we've talked about these ideas. So these relationships, as Supervisor Cottrell alluded to, and the communication, we've done this once before in practice. Now it's game day. It's time to perform. We have an excellent track record, excellent effort, and some extremely hardworking, committed people on all sides in these responses. That's really the ongoing, evolving, constantly improving. We're always looking to get better, and we're always working to do that behind the scenes as part of ongoing training and regular updates and relationships.
Okay. Thank you. You good? Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Anna Chateau.
I have a question. So I work with Congressman Thompson, and I look a lot at watch duty before even the official alerts, just to track fires. And we're seeing throughout all of the districts, we're seeing fires pop up all the time, but they're being put out faster. So can you talk about what's different, why they haven't turned into something bigger? Because people are asking us all the time, we're seeing these fires, really fearful, and I keep saying we have a better response both from the state level and local than we had before, and they're stopping the fires. So will you speak to what's working?
Perfect person is JC.
Perfect. Thank you, Chief. And the question was talking about our fire responses. We've had activity across Congressman Thompson's district. There's fires that have came up and the success of containing these. So what's changed? What's working? Why are we seeing that great success? And a lot of this talks about the timing of the year, the weather activity. So fire is really determined off fuel, weather, and topography. Our July months that we've had recently, mild in nature compared, except for these next couple of weeks as we turn into August, we're going to see some extreme heats come through. No significant wind events in long durations that we had. But I think the real key component here is talking about the pre-fire here. We've had a lot of work, and I'll speak across Napa County, on the county and the city jurisdictions as well, where we've had public education. People are making smart decisions, understanding the right time to use their power equipment is before 10 a.m. or not at all on extreme heat or windy days as well. Our response here, our mutual aid system across our state resources, county resources, city resources work very well together. Our tablet command, where information is shared across all of those platforms so that our resources are working on the same channels across what these maps and response plans actually are. And the biggest thing to this is our aerial fleet. So I gave you a tour of what our fixed wing, which is our airplanes, and our rotary wing, which is our helicopters. We've bolstered this up across the state of California. These investments out of Sacramento have been significant. It is a drastic difference. Just to show a comparison, our helicopter that we use for CAL FIRE with our Helitac crew now delivers 1,000 gallons of water, whereas before it was around 300 gallons of water. We have the exclusive use helicopters that are built into the system on contract. We have these large air tankers that now hold 4,000 gallons of retardant. So we saw this locally, even just in Pope Valley a couple weeks ago, where this quick response through the mutual aid system, we had great success. So, fortunate for the lack of north winds that do come through, but there has been a large success with across the fire departments and aerial resources. So thank you for your question.
Okay, any more questions? I do have one go back. Somebody was talking about the cell towers and what have you. Starlink Mini is a huge change that came out a couple years ago. I have one. Every CAL FIRE engine has one. All the battalion chiefs have one. I have one personally, plus my command vehicle has one, and the engines have two. And if you acquire it and you say, I want to pay for it, the standby is $5 or $10. It's not that bad. And your phone, you can just swipe it and have it enabled to work through the Wi-Fi. I think it's Wi-Fi over cell. So you can have your phone out in the middle of nowhere and it'll work. And it's a fantastic tool. Also, another go back was having a plan is the biggest thing. Like, again, back to, I live in Angwin. And so my wife, her plan is if you can't make it down the hill, she goes to the Angwin fire station, which is a little temporary refuge right there. And then another third of a mile and she'll be at the Angwin market. And that's a big defensible space area. And that is better to just wait it out there than trying to go down the mountain with responding units coming up and all the chaos. And she's going to be fine. Okay. That's our plan. All right. Any other questions?
Will that become something of the future for our rural areas, the places that are considered safe zone?
The question is, will it be a thing of the future for defensible space areas like temporary refuge areas? JC? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so talking about where residents live, whether it's rural or in city jurisdictions, but having that plan is very, very important. And one thing I want to guide our residents to is joining and being a part of your local fire safe council. So as Chief Sorensen talked, his residence is up in Angwin, the Angwin Fire Safe Council, a great resource that meets very often, working with residents, guiding them through their fire preparedness, their plan, their defensible space, how they can be resilient. But one of the other items on there, they talk about what happens if we have a fire, where are we going? What are we going to do if Howell Mountain Road, Deer Park Road are blocked due to fires that have them encapsulated there? And just taking a look at the Angwin topography itself, they have the large sport fields supported by the college. They have the large college campus, the large parking lots there at the market as well. You are going to be, if needed, by our local law enforcement, guided to these areas to make sure that you have your safety. Joining these fire safe councils is going to get you directly connected to Napa Firewise and their fuel reduction projects that are going to help you, working with what happens during a fire, making sure you have your go bags prepared, ready, questions asked, resources to support you. So I can definitely encourage everyone to do that. These are conversations that come up very often. Our firefighters are there in attendance at these meetings to make sure that your questions, concerns, or even individual concerns about your specific property, roads, and what you need to do to navigate that. So a lot of this stuff can be taken care of, answered on the granular level with our fire department resources to support you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I think we'll wrap this up. I want to thank all that attended today: Brieanna Jones, Joe Nordlinger, David Capponi, JC Greenberg, Justin Tharp, and Kyle Eddleman. Thank you. Thank you all for joining.